Hey, yo, 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 it's the ugly truck driver. How the flock are you? Watching the news, watching the politics, watching the speechification going on in Washington, D.C. It seems our southern border is being overrun by unescorted children these days. The Border Patrol is being buried. They don't have the finances or the wherewithal to deal with these kids coming up from south of the border, whether it's from South America, Central America, or Mexico. We've had border problems for years and years. And how do I know this? Well, let's see. Back in the 80s, I lived down in Arizona for a while. I also lived in New Mexico. In the 2000s, I lived in Texas. I remember when I lived with my mom and my stepdad in a place called Cochise, Arizona. That's about an hour north of Nogales, Arizona. My parents had an apple ranch down there in Cochise. And they were raising apples to sell. It would not be uncommon a time or two to all of a sudden have a car or people running across the property, damaging the trees and everything else, and just creating mayhem as these illegals came north out of Nogales or Naco or a couple other places down there where you can virtually, back then, walk across the border. I lived in a place called Deming, New Mexico in the 80s also. Not too far where Pancho Villa used to come across the border. Matter of fact, there's even a monument and all that down there, and I went to see it one day. And the borderline between Mexico and Deming is not much more than a 3-foot high wire fence. Facts is facts. I saw it firsthand. I've been there. But I remember at times when people would come onto my stepdad's property in Cochise, Arizona. Matter of fact, this one case comes to mind where it was late in the afternoon and this vehicle comes running through the front cattle guard, across the property, taking down some trees and all that. No plates on the vehicle, pickup truck. And my stepdad came out on the front porch, took a look, saw what was happening. Used to keep a shotgun right over the front door. Pulled that thing down. It's loaded with double-aught buck. And proceeded to let the rounds fly. I guess the people got the hint because they hightailed it out of there mighty damn quick. The border is porous. The border is a joke. And our government, since ad infinitum, hasn't done a darn thing about it. We hear all these politicians in Washington, D.C. with their speechification about build the fence, protect the border, amnesty, you name it. They say we've got 11 million illegal aliens currently living in the United States. And there's no way to deport them all back to wherever they need to go, which is quite possibly true. But the problem we've got is our politicians are about as useless as tits on a bull. We are not going to have border security anytime soon because of politics. Why? Because there's no will. And of course, we get some people sitting there saying, yeah, they're coming across the border again. They're going to be another registered Democrat. witness how these illegal aliens make use of our welfare and all the rest of that. And it's our tax dollars that's paying for them to be here. I don't know, folks. I don't say I've got all the answers, but I've got this one answer that the liberals, the Democrats, the bleeding hearts, the socialists, the communists, the libtards, the 47 percenters don't want to hear. It's called Build the Fence. From California, San Diego, all the way to Brownsville, Texas. Make that sucker 20 feet high, 10 feet wide. Guard shacks or machine gun nests about every half mile. Ground radar, whatever it takes. Our country is in jeopardy. If these kids and these illegals can come across, what's stopping the terrorists? What's stopping the drug runners and all the rest of that? I remember a couple years back reading down in Nogales, Arizona, that they had found drug runners had built a tunnel from Mexico into a warehouse in Nogales. And I mean, this was not just some little mole thing going underneath. This was a tunnel, had lights, had reinforcements. You could sit there and run carts. It was over a half a mile long. And that's how the drug runners were bringing drugs into Nogales before they caught it and shut it down. But see, the liberals, the retards, the bleeding hearts, the socialists, the communists, whoever else, make a big deal that, oh, we have to give these people a break. Why? I kind of remember listening to my mother and my grandmother and even my great-grandmom when I was a kid up in Buffalo, New York, on how their parents came into America. One side of my family came in to America through Canada and had to go through all the hoops and the laws and everything else. The others came in on a boat, went past the Statue of Liberty at Staten Island and had to go through all the good stuff because we had laws. We've got a president that sits there and says, I've got a pen and a phone and I will do this, this, and that. We've got 535 idiots in Capitol Hill and every place else, and they just walk in circles like their one foot is nailed to the floor and nobody can make a decision and nobody can sit there and answer the hard stuff because they want plausible deniability. They don't want to be held responsible if somebody makes this hard choice. And of course, lacking Jerry Brown in the state of California, the most screaming liberal I'm aware of, the governors of California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas would love to have a secured border so that they don't have to deal with this. Because, see, it's those states that are taking the biggest hit. Why? Because they're right there. They're neighbors to Mexico. And it's not to take anything away from the Mexican people, the Central American people, the South American people. They're trying to find a better way of life. They're just not doing it right. But see, they get all this stuff fed to them that go north. There's jobs there. There's a better lifestyle and all that. You know, as much as people sit there and hate the United States, call us names, as our government even gives Mexico millions and billions of dollars a year, and yet we can't get a military Afghani vet out of a Mexican jail on a gun charge. Everybody buys the Kool-Aid. America keeps giving away millions and billions and trillions of dollars a year to all these foreign countries that hate our guts, but they'll gladly take our money. I'm kind of thinking we should see it sort of be like Israel. Let's be nationalistic. We are a republic. We were formed as a republic, even though this morning in a speech given by Barack Obama said we're a democracy when he was talking with the people from Australia. Even the president got it wrong, and he's supposed to be a college-educated lawyer. America is a republic, not a democracy. But we need to build the wall. Why not take those millions and billions and trillions of dollars we give these foreign countries and secure our southern border as it should be? Not this proposed 700 miles of fence they're talking about. I mean 2,000 miles of serious, hardcore, China wall kind of border protection. You ever see a Great Wall in China? That's what we need here in America on our southern border, just like that. And it's got guard towers every so often. But see, you'll never see our politicians in Washington, D.C. or any place else like that have the balls to sit there and do something like this. It's inconvenient. I remember a saying I heard when I was a kid. Fences make good neighbors. I'm a firm believer in that. Because you get tired of your neighbors walking through your yard, using your yard, and other things like that. And in my case, I consider it a privacy fence is a damn good kind of fence to have. So yeah, we need to build the wall from San Diego to Brownsville. These politicians have no spine, have no guts, they have no common sense. And why? Because they don't have to deal with it. But ask some of the farmers and some of the ranchers that live on those border towns that have property that butts up against the Rio Grande and all that, about the drug runners coming across the border, about the other illegals, the transient farmer types, you know. And if they're getting across, who's to say some Muslim Islamic terrorist hasn't brought a suitcase nuke across that border at one time or another, and it's sitting here someplace in the United States just waiting to get the signal to set that sucker off? And as far as shipping back these 11 million or so that they say we've got currently in the United States, that's probably a pretty slim chance of it ever really happening because, again, the politicians don't have the backbone or the spine, and you get groups like La Raza and a few others that, you know, raise all kinds of political hell about it. See, back in the old days, when you came to America to live here and become a citizen, you assimilated. Yeah, you kept your own personal culture from where you were, but you assimilated, you adopted the laws and the styles and everything of America, of what America was founded on. I promise you, our forefathers from the 1700s are rolling over in their graves, see what's going on today. But what do I know? I'm just a dumb truck driver. I don't know jack shit. But see, I've lived in Texas. I've lived in New Mexico. I've lived in Arizona. I've seen it firsthand. Build the goddamn wall, Washington, D.C., and knock off the bullshit. Truck driver's opinion, you understand.